Hi everybody, thank you for being here. In this video, we're going to continue talking about characteristics of the self-actualized individual. And remember, we are talking about these characteristics so we see them, we use them as standards, as goals, so we can develop these characteristics, attitudes, habits, skills, so we can live a much better, healthier life, both psychologically and existentially. So let's address here characteristic number 3. And here it is. Increased spontaneity. Okay, that's a feature that is very distinctive of people who are self-actualized or self-actualizing. And okay, we might all have a good idea of what that means, but let's see what Maslow has to say. Self-actualization drives an individual, now I quote, to be true to his own nature, to trust himself, to be authentic. Major existential idea. To be spontaneous, honestly expressive. So this pretty much gives us a good idea of what it means to, or what it takes to be spontaneous. You are true to yourself. You trust yourself. You are authentic. You are a genuine person. You're not wearing masks or facades. You're not acting out a persona. You are yourself. And you express yourself freely and honestly. Okay, so you're not hiding things and you are a pretty transparent person regarding your thoughts and even your feelings. So you're pretty much an open book when you or when you exhibit this characteristic being spontaneous. And that's what it takes. Now, that might look a little intimidating for some of you, being an open book. In reality, friends, when you are that comfortable in your own skin, I mean, you're pretty okay with just expressing yourself and with sharing a lot of personal stuff to people. I trust me, you really do. Now, there's more about this characteristic, and here's another quote or passage that I want to share with you. The self-actualizing individuals studied by Maslow exhibited, and now I quote, a lack of fear of their own insights, of their own impulses, their emotions and thoughts. They were more self-accepting than the average. Okay, do you remember? This relates to the previous characteristic number 2, having an increased acceptance of self. Remember? I said I would address that here. So these individuals are more self-accepting compared to the average person. They were less afraid of their own thoughts, even when they were nutty or silly or crazy. They were less afraid of being laughed at or of being disapproved of. They could let themselves be flooded by emotion. Okay, wouldn't it be nice, beautiful to be that individual? Okay, that you're that comfortable in your skin, you can be that authentic, and you can trust yourself to that degree in which you can just say anything that you want. You can express your feelings and your thoughts without fear. Now, I emphasize that word for a reason. You see how many times I emphasize that word of fear and being afraid, right? Let me go back. It says, people who are self-actualized exhibited a lack of fear of their own insights, their impulses, emotions. They were less afraid of their own thoughts, even when they were silly, and they were less afraid of being laughed at, of being judged. Gosh, how many people now are so afraid of judgment? Right? And in our culture, we have created these judgment-free zones, right? So people can go and express themselves, be themselves, without the fear of being judged. Well, obviously, if this is an important idea for you, if you love your safe spaces and your judgment-free zones, then you obviously have a problem accepting yourself. You obviously do. You have a problem being true to yourself, being authentic, saying what you mean, expressing what you're feeling, and not putting on any masks. So definitely, because when you are that confident about yourself, you don't care what people say about you. You don't care about people's judgment. You can let yourself be laughed at, and that's okay. They're going to laugh at me, fine. They're going to judge me, fine. And look at that last statement. These people let themselves be flooded by emotions. So they don't have a problem if they're feeling, if they're talking about something difficult going on in their life, something painful, they have no problem crying in front of people. They don't. They own their feelings. And that's a great thing. Who cares if somebody else see me crying? Or if I'm super happy and I'm singing, who cares if people watch me singing? I remember I love to sing and I'm a very happy person. So I like to sing a lot, even in public. When I'm in a store and I hear a song they're playing and the speakers and a song I love, I start singing the song. And sometimes when I'm hanging out with my teenage daughters, they kind of hide and they're like, Dad, please be quiet. I don't care. I'm happy. So I have no problem expressing myself in that regard. I don't care if people judge me or think I'm silly or whatever. I don't care. So that is, friends, what we need to develop. Now, fear, fear, fear. Uh, this was about 3 videos ago already. I talked about this fundamental, the most fundamental conflict within. Remember? The conflict existing between our safety needs and our growth needs, right? I said that the main force behind our safety needs is fear. Fear of losing our safety, security, fear of the unknown, fear of not knowing what's going to happen, fear of what's beyond our control. Now, very huge force inside of us, biological force, because it has to do with our self-preservation, okay? But you got to remember this. You must always keep in mind that fear is the greatest obstacle for growth. This is what's going to prevent growth. What prevents growth in most people? Fear. So this is something that you need to be able to control, to keep in check. Now you might be thinking, how do you do that? You're never going to get rid of the feeling. You're always going to feel afraid of things. Always. You're going to feel that inside of you. But how you control it? By living a life conducive to growth. Because this is the thing. The more you grow, the more you're going to enjoy the benefits of living a great life. And that's going to make you more courageous. That's going to make you pay less attention to this fear, to this instinct, right, of self-preservation. And you're going to be more willing to put yourself out there and to be who you are. But you got to enjoy the fruits of growth. So it's great, friends, to be spontaneous. People long for being spontaneous. I'm going to share a very, very cool story at the end of this video. But, okay, you might be thinking right now, okay, yeah, easier said than done. Yeah, you got to be spontaneous, be natural, be yourself, master your fears. Yeah, but in reality, it's a whole different ball game, right? So how do we do it? How do we do it? Okay, here is a practical activity, let's say. I want you to do this. Okay, if you're serious about, okay, I want to be that person. You know, I want to be more spontaneous. I want to be more natural. I want to be more self-accepting. I want to be myself. Okay, exercise. Take a piece of paper. And I want you to write in this paper all the things that you don't like about yourself. all your limitations, your shortcomings, your flaws, everything that you don't like about yourself. And please, be completely honest to yourself. You're not going to do this for anybody else but yourself. Write down on a paper all those things. And I would say that the more things you have in the list in the end, the better. Because that means that you're being you're doing the self-examination really well, right? And you're being honest with yourself. So write a list of all the things you don't like about yourself. And then in another piece of paper, you're going to draw two big circles. Okay? Two big circles, two bubbles. And at the top of the first bubble, you're going to write, I cannot change. And on top of the other bubble, the second bubble, you're going to write, I can change. Okay? One, things you cannot change. The other one, things you can change. And now you're going to look at your list and you're going to put those things that you don't like about yourself, limitations, shortcomings, whatever, and those that you cannot change, that you know for a fact. There's no way for you to change those things. Okay? You're going to put them in the first bubble. Cannot change. And then the other ones, you're going to put them in the second bubble. And now you're going to look at the first bubble. The things about you that you don't like, limitations that you cannot change. You're going to look at that first bubble and you're going to say, this is who I am. You're going to tell yourself, this is who I am. And I'm going to accept it. I'm going to embrace it. There is nothing I can do to change these things. So I'm going to own them. Because again, this is who I am. And I'm going to tell you two benefits, practical benefits you're going to get once you do this. Number one, you're going to feel a lot better about yourself, and you're going to be more natural in the way you conduct yourself, more spontaneous. That's number one. But number two, there's another great benefit. People are going to like you more. People are going to like you better, trust me. And that is going to open beautiful doors for you. Here's a real example. When I was interviewing for this job, this current job that I have, this is my dream job. Like, I wanted to do this job for years, decades. When I was interviewing for this job, in the interview, somebody asked me about my biggest shortcoming. What is your biggest shortcoming, your biggest limitation? And boy, I love that question. And I answered immediately. My biggest shortcoming, friends, have been that I'm a slow thinker. I process really, really slowly, okay? And I became aware of this many, many years ago when I was in school. And I remember when teachers, like especially math teachers, when they would explain their math, I could not get it. Like I didn't. And it was frustrating for me to see many of my classmates, perhaps most, they would get immediately what the teacher was explaining, but I didn't. So I would raise my hand and say, I'm sorry, Mr. So-and-so, can you explain that last example one more time? And that's always been me. It takes me a lot of time and work to process, especially new information. I'm going to tell you this. I'm comfortable. I took the GRE exam three times. And for those of you who don't know, this is pretty much, or used to be, things are changing now. This used to be pretty much the entrance exam for graduate school. So when I finished my bachelor's and I wanted to start my master's degree, then I had to take this examination, the GRE. Took it three times. In all three times, I could not finish the damn thing. And I'm sorry for my language, but it was really frustrating. Why I couldn't finish? Because pretty much they give you 10 seconds per question. Okay, so for example, they give you a passage to read and then 3 questions about the passage, and you have 30 seconds to answer those 3 questions. There was no way for me to do that. because for me to read a passage and fully understand and grasp the passage, I have to read and reread and read, stop, think, and then read. So I could not finish the exam. So I got a lousy grade all three times that I took this GRE exam. And I always knew it, that I was slow thinking. I'm smart. I'm really smart, but this is a problem that I've always had, and there was no way for me to change it. So going back to the story, in my job interview, somebody asked me, what's your biggest flaw, and immediately I responded, okay, you know what? I'm a slow thinker. I process very slowly, so you're gonna have to be very patient with me. And if you explain something to me, you can be pretty sure that I'm not gonna get it the first time. So you're gonna have to explain things to me two times, maybe more. And I'm gonna be around asking questions. Hey, can you explain this to me one more time? Can you break it down for me in small steps? I have a lot of great attributes and skills, but this is just my biggest limitation, and it's part of me. It's part of who I am. So long story short, they gave me the position in the end, and major accomplishment in my life. Now, a few months later, I was talking with my who is my supervisor, who back then during the interview, she was in the interview committee asking questions and stuff. And we were talking about my interview, my job interview, and she said to me, you know what, Luciano? What sold us about you as a candidate for the position? I said, what? She said, when you talked about being a slow thinker, she said. And I said, why? And she said, well, when you talked about that problem, limitation about yourself, we loved it because we saw you as an authentic person, a genuine person. That's the exact same word she used. We saw you as an authentic person. And we love that. So the committee said, okay, this is the guy we are looking for. This is the guy we want. So how about that? How about that? When you embrace your limitations, your shortcomings, people are going to like you because everybody has limitations and shortcomings, things they don't like about themselves, and they're going to relate to you and they're going to like you as a consequence. So you see the benefits, friends. Now, there are other things, right, in my first bubble, that things that I didn't, especially things that I didn't like about myself. And one of those things is that I'm an immigrant, okay? And I look different, have a different skin color. And for years, this bothered me, being in America, right? Looking different and having a different accent and people recognizing me like I was not from here. It really gave me a hard time. But one day I realized that there was nothing I could do to change that. I'm always going to be an immigrant. I cannot change the past. And one day I said to myself, the hell with it. That's who I am. I'm Hispanic. I'm an immigrant, and I like my rice and beans, and I like Hispanic music, and it's who I am. And I have my accent, and I embraced it. And boy, the joy that now I live with, the peace of mind, the comfort, because it's okay. This is who I am. I'm Hispanic. I'm an immigrant. Yes, I embrace it. I'm fine. I don't have to hide it. It's pretty evident. So why not better live with it in the best possible way? Now, there was something about me that I didn't like about myself that I knew I could change. Speaking of me being an immigrant, and that was my my limitation in speaking English, in communicating with other people in English, and with my accent. Okay, that was pretty frustrating. I moved to America when I was 21. Like I wasn't very very young. I was 21, so I was already an adult, and it was frustrating not being able to communicate. And when I started trying to communicate in English and try to speak English, it was so difficult for people to understand me, and they would go like, what do you say? What was that?" It was frustrating. It was embarrassing. I felt like every time I would speak English, I was put on the spot. But limitation, right? Shortcoming. But I knew I could do something about it. And I started studying. I started paying a whole lot more attention to pronunciation. I started asking people for help. Hey, how do you say that word again? Can you break that word in syllables for me? And I would pay attention to each word, words that were very difficult for me to say. I would break them down in syllables, and then I would try to pronounce every syllable correctly. And then I practice and rehearse and say the word over and over and over again until it was easy for me to say it or natural. Okay, long story short, that was a limitation on my second bubble. That was a problem that I knew I could change, I could improve, I could overcome, and I did. I got to a point where I could communicate in English pretty clearly and pretty effectively. So so here's what you do with your second bubble, with those things. Work. Work. You know ways you can improve those things. You know, I'm sure you know ways you can overcome those limitations. Then do it. And you're going to feel a lot better about yourself. So, so that's that. Now, first of all, accept them. That's who you are, and you're going to have those two benefits. Feel better about yourself, and people are going to like you more. And for the second bubble, work. Work. Try to improve yourself, because that's in a word what it means. I want to finish with this story though, that I think it's so it illustrates how important being spontaneous here is in our mental health. A few years ago, I did online dating. Okay, I did it for perhaps 4 years. I was single, and I wanted to marry again. And it was interesting, reading people's profiles, women. And it was interesting to find that in many profiles, women would say something very similar about an ideal first date. Okay. Many women would say that an ideal first date for them would be in a bar having drinks. And I thought, gosh, that is so strange. Why would you want to go to a bar with a guy that you're just going to meet for the first time, right, on a first date? And in our countries, in Latin America, this is a major no-no. Like, you never take a girl, let's say, to a bar, a girl that you're really interested in, that you have like really good, serious intentions with. You never take her to a bar on a first date, right? She would never actually accept to go to a bar on a first date. You take her to a restaurant or to the movies or a place like that, but never to a bar. So for me, that was really strange. Why would women want to go to a bar on a first date? But then when I started dating and I started going to these first dates, I noticed this, that at the beginning, these ladies, they would act very awkwardly and they were very stiff. And it was obvious to me that they were having a really hard time being spontaneous, being natural. And okay, but then what happened after one drink, after one glass of wine, let's say, they felt more relaxed, and then after two glasses of wine, they felt even more relaxed. And after those two glasses of wine, friends, I started seeing the actual genuine person that I was talking to. I started seeing somebody acting more naturally, being silly, saying funny things, laughing about themselves, or even getting emotional. But it's so interesting because he took two glasses of wine, right? In most cases, for some people, probably it takes more than two glasses of wine. But the point is that I realized, okay, so this is why in America bars are so popular. It hit me then. People, especially young people, they love going to bars, at least here in Charlotte, North Carolina. This is a big thing. But I'm pretty sure this is true across the United States. People go to bars, young people, to hang out with other people because with a couple of drinks, they know they can be themselves. They can act naturally, they can be more spontaneous. They long for being spontaneous, for being authentic. They long for feeling more relaxed and being able to express themselves freely, express their ideas and their feelings, and feeling like they're not going to be judged. But that's what it takes, right? In perhaps many, if not most cases, it takes two glasses of wine, two beers, or something like that, for people to feel that way. And people pay, pay to feel that way, pay to act naturally and spontaneously. So, so here's an idea. How about being that person, being that spontaneous, natural, that confident about yourself, being that expressive? How about authentic? How about being that person without one drop of alcohol in your system? How do you like that idea? Well, that's the goal. That is the goal. That's the person you want to become. And I hope you now have a much better idea of how to get there, what's necessary. Okay, accept yourself, and by accepting yourself, you know what I mean. Those things that you don't like a whole lot about yourself, right? Do the exercise, and that it's without a doubt, it's going to lead you to a much better life, healthier life. You're going to feel better about being who you are and acting naturally, spontaneously. That's all I have to say in this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.